Before the world ever heard his voice, the boy lived in a forgotten coastal barangay in the Philippines, where the sea met rusted rooftops and dreams often sank beneath daily survival. Their home was a fragile structure of wood and tin, patched together after every storm. Electricity came and went, but hunger was constant. Still, every evening, as the sun melted into the ocean, his voice filled the air. He sang not for money, not for applause, but because singing made the world feel lighter. An old, cracked radio, rescued from a junk pile, was his greatest treasure. It barely worked, but when it did, it played songs from faraway places. One night, Hotel California drifted through the static. He didn't understand the words, but he felt them. The sadness, the longing, the loneliness. He sang along, copying every note, pouring his own struggles into each line. Neighbors paused as they passed. Fishermen stopped mending nets. Children sat quietly in the dirt. There was something haunting in the way the boy sang, a pain too heavy for someone so young. His voice carried across the narrow alleys, mixing with the sound of waves and distant tricycles. His parents worked endlessly, yet barely earned enough to eat. They had no money for lessons, no stage to offer him. But they believed. His mother would sit outside their home, listening with tears in her eyes, whispering prayers that his voice might someday open doors poverty had slammed shut. Under the dim glow of a flickering bulb, the boy dreamed of a stage he had only seen on borrowed phones. He didn't know how or when, but he believed that one day, his voice would carry him far beyond the shores of his village, toward a destiny waiting to hear him. The journey from his small Philippine village to the world's biggest stage felt like stepping into another universe. It began before sunrise, with a single worn backpack and a heart full of hope. His family had sold what little they could, an old phone, extra fishing nets, just to afford the trip. As he hugged his mother goodbye, she pressed a small cross into his palm and whispered, "Sing from your heart." Airports terrified him. The bright lights, the endless lines, the unfamiliar language, it all made him feel smaller than ever. He had never been on a plane before. As it lifted into the sky, he stared out the window, wondering if dreams really could rise this high. Backstage at the audition hall, the noise was overwhelming. Confident singers warmed up, dancers laughed, cameras moved everywhere. Compared to them, he felt invisible. His clothes were simple, his shoes were worn, his hands shook as he clutched his audition number. Doubt crept in. What if I don't belong here? Then the judges called his name. Walking onto the stage, the spotlight blinded him. Thousands of eyes stared back. When asked about his life, his voice trembled more than when he sang. He spoke of poverty, of singing to forget hunger, of dreaming beyond the sea. The room grew quiet. Even the judges leaned in, sensing the weight of his story. As the music cue approached, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He wasn't singing for fame. He wasn't singing to win. He was singing for his family, his village, and the boy he used to be, singing under flickering lights, believing that hope could travel farther than fear. The theater fell into a deep, expectant silence as the first gentle notes of Hotel California echoed through the hall. The boy stood frozen for a heartbeat, his chest rising with a shaky breath. Then he sang. From the very first line, something extraordinary happened. His voice didn't just fill the room, it wrapped around every soul inside it. It was raw and weathered, carrying the weight of nights without food, storms without shelter, and dreams whispered into the dark. The judges' casual expressions vanished, replaced by stunned disbelief. One leaned forward, eyes widening. Another slowly covered their mouth. As he moved into the second verse, the boy forgot the cameras, the audience, and the fear. He sang the song the way he had always sung it, alone, under the stars, imagining a better life. His voice soared and then softened, perfectly controlled yet painfully honest. Each note felt lived in, as though the song had been written for him long before he ever heard it on that broken radio. When he reached the chorus, the transformation was complete. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some audience members wiped away tears, others sat motionless, afraid to breathe. The familiar rock anthem had become something new, intimate, haunting, and deeply human. Even Simon Cowell, known for his icy composure, sat unusually still, eyes locked on the boy. There was no skepticism, no judging, only listening. As the final note lingered in the air, the silence returned, heavier than before. For one suspended moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then reality rushed back in. Applause erupted like thunder. and the boy stood there, unaware that his life had just changed forever, simply knowing he had sung the truth from his heart. The applause thundered through the theater, but the boy barely heard it. His heart was still racing, his hands clenched tightly at his sides as he waited for the judges to speak. He searched their faces, unsure whether what he had just poured out was enough. Then he noticed something unexpected. One judge wiped away tears openly, no attempt to hide the emotion. Another shook their head slowly, whispering, "Wow," as if words had failed completely. The room, still buzzing moments earlier, grew quiet again, this time heavy with feeling. When Simon finally spoke, his voice was unusually soft. He paused, collecting himself, eyes still fixed on the boy. "I've heard Hotel California sung thousands of times," he said slowly. "But I have never heard it sung like that." The audience murmured in agreement. Simon leaned forward. "You didn't just sing a song. You told your story. Every hardship, every dream, people felt it." The boy swallowed hard, tears welling in his own eyes. He hadn't meant to make anyone cry. He had only meant to sing the way he always did. Another judge spoke next, their voice trembling. "You have something that can't be taught. That pain, that honesty, it comes from life. And you turned it into beauty." The audience erupted again, some standing, some applauding through tears. Simon exhaled deeply, rubbing his face, clearly moved. "Young man," he continued, "moments like this are why we do this show." For the first time since stepping on stage, the boy allowed himself to smile, small, unsure, but glowing with hope. The judges exchanged glances. Something special was happening. The air felt charged, like the calm before lightning strikes. And though the boy didn't yet know it, his journey was only seconds away from changing in the most unbelievable way imaginable. For a brief moment, the world seemed to stand still. The boy wiped his tears, still smiling shyly, unaware of the storm building in front of him. The judges leaned toward one another, exchanging looks that needed no words. The audience sensed it too. Something extraordinary was about to happen. Simon rose slowly from his chair. The theater hushed instantly. "You know," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "there are performances you remember, and then there are performances you feel forever." He paused, looking at the boy with rare warmth. "This is one of those moments." Suddenly, bang, the golden buzzer slammed down. A massive explosion of gold confetti rained from above, sparkling under the lights like falling stars. The audience erupted into screams and applause, chanting his name as the boy froze in disbelief. His knees buckled. He dropped to the stage, hands covering his face as sobs shook his small body. He couldn't understand what was happening, only that something miraculous had just changed his life. The judges rushed onto the stage, lifting him gently, wrapping him in hugs. "You deserve this," one whispered. "You earned every second of this." Through tears, the boy looked up, eyes wide, golden light reflecting in them like a dream. Somewhere across the ocean, his family would soon see this moment, their sacrifices, their prayers, answered in an instant. From a broken radio in a poor village to the biggest stage in the world, his voice had carried him farther than he ever imagined. As the confetti continued to fall, the boy stood tall for the first time, realizing that poverty did not define him, his gift did. And in that golden moment, a star was born.